The Amityville Horror. In the serene suburb of Amityville, New York, a Dutch colonial house stood at 112 Ocean Avenue, its iconic gambrel roof and quarter-moon windows giving it an inviting charm. But behind its picturesque exterior lurked a dark and malevolent secret, one that would make it infamous as one of the most haunted places in American history. The horror began on the night of November 13, 1974. Ronald DeFeo Jr., a seemingly ordinary 23-year-old, shocked the nation when he calmly walked through his family's home, armed with a rifle. He entered each bedroom in turn, where his parents, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters lay asleep, and methodically shot them all dead. 6 lives were snuffed out in a brutal act of violence. The details were chilling. All the victims were found lying face down, as if they had been arranged that way, with no signs of struggle or attempted escape. Even more terrifying, no one in the neighborhood heard the gunshots, despite the deafening noise of the rifle. When questioned by police, Ronald DeFeo Jr. claimed he had heard voices in the house, voices that commanded him to kill. The case quickly became one of the most infamous murder cases in American history, and 112 Ocean Avenue was stained with the blood of the DeFeo family. Just over a year later, in December 1975, George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, moved into the house, unaware of the nightmare that awaited them. They believed they had found their dream home at a bargain price, $80,000 for a spacious 5-bedroom house in a prime location. But as they soon discovered, some bargains come with a terrible cost. From the moment the Lutz family set foot in the house, they felt an unsettling presence. The air inside seemed heavy, thick with an oppressive energy they couldn't quite identify. As they unpacked their belongings, strange things began to happen. The family dog, usually playful and friendly, suddenly became terrified, refusing to enter certain rooms, barking and growling at unseen forces. Cold spots appeared throughout the house, and the temperature would drop suddenly without explanation. George Lutz, a former Marine known for his no-nonsense attitude, began waking up at exactly 3:15 a.m. every night, the same time the DeFeo murders had occurred. He found himself drawn to the boathouse outside, staring into the dark waters with a growing sense of dread. George became obsessed with keeping the fireplace lit, constantly chopping wood and stoking the flames as if he were trying to ward off something evil. The once rational and level-headed man began to change, becoming increasingly irritable and aggressive. Kathy Lutz, a devout Catholic, decided to bless the house herself after witnessing the unsettling events. As she walked through each room, sprinkling holy water and reciting prayers, she was suddenly overcome with a choking sense of terror. It felt as though an unseen force was watching her, lurking just out of sight. In that moment, the crucifix in her hand spun around, and a deep, guttural voice echoed through the house, commanding her to get out. Things only grew worse. The children began to experience nightmarish visions and were tormented by unseen forces that tugged at their blankets and whispered their names in the dark. The youngest child, Missy, developed an imaginary friend named Jody, who she described as a large pig with glowing red eyes. Missy insisted that Jody lived in her closet and that she could see him through her bedroom window. On more than one occasion, both George and Kathy claimed to have seen the reflection of glowing eyes staring back at them from the darkness. The house itself seemed to come alive, with doors slamming shut on their own, strange noises echoing through the halls, and the pungent smell of sulfur filling the air. At times, a thick black slime would ooze from the walls, seeping into the cracks of the floorboards. The Lutzes were at their wits' end, unable to comprehend the malevolence that had taken hold of their home. Desperate for help, George and Kathy reached out to a local priest to perform an exorcism. The priest, a man of strong faith, arrived at the house and began the ritual. As he walked through the house, he was suddenly struck by a powerful, unseen force. A sharp slap rang out, leaving him stunned and breathless. Then, a voice, not of this world, boomed through the walls, screaming at him to leave and never return. The priest, shaken to his core, fled the house and refused to come back. The nights grew longer and more terrifying. George was plagued by violent, uncontrollable urges, feeling as though he was being possessed by the same evil that had driven Ronald DeFeo Jr. to commit murder. Kathy was tormented by dreams of the DeFeo family's final moments, waking up in cold sweats, her body marked by bruises and welts that had no logical explanation. As the days passed, the Lutzes found themselves increasingly isolated, trapped by the house's dark energy. Even when they left the property, the sense of dread followed them, as if the house had latched onto their very souls. They began to fear for their lives and for the safety of their children. The final straw came on the 28th day when the house unleashed its full fury upon them. The walls seemed to breathe with a life of their own, vibrating and groaning as if the very structure was being torn apart. A deafening roar echoed through the house, shaking it to its foundations. George was thrown to the ground by an unseen force, and the air filled with the stench of decay. In a state of absolute terror, the Lutz family fled their home in the dead of night, abandoning all their possessions. They drove away, not daring to look back, certain that they had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. In the weeks that followed, the Lutzes shared their story with a select few, and word of their harrowing experience quickly spread. Paranormal investigators, including the famous Ed and Lorraine Warren, were called in to explore the house. Lorraine Warren, a gifted clairvoyant, immediately sensed a powerful and malevolent presence within the walls. She described seeing visions of the DeFeo murders and believed that the house was a portal to something far darker than anyone could have imagined. Ed Warren detected abnormal levels of electromagnetic activity and recorded disturbing audio anomalies. But the most chilling evidence was captured in a photograph taken on the staircase, showing the ghostly figure of a small boy, believed to be one of the DeFeo children, peering out from the shadows. This photograph became a key piece of evidence in the ongoing debate over whether the Amityville Horror was real or a cleverly orchestrated hoax. Despite the skepticism and controversy that surrounded their story, the Lutz family maintained that every terrifying moment they experienced was real. They moved far away, trying to rebuild their lives, but the memories of 112 Ocean Avenue haunted them forever. The house itself became a legend, drawing curious onlookers, paranormal investigators, and thrill-seekers who wanted to experience its eerie atmosphere for themselves. It changed hands several times over the years, with each new owner either dismissing the haunting as fiction or fleeing the property after encountering unexplainable phenomena. Whether the Amityville Horror was the result of a demonic presence, residual energy from the murders, or simply the product of the human mind under extreme stress, one thing is certain: the story has become a permanent fixture in American folklore. It stands as a chilling reminder that some places are best left alone, and that evil can sometimes take root in even the most unassuming of places. To this day, the tale of the Amityville Horror continues to captivate and terrify, a stark reminder that in some corners of the world, the line between reality and the supernatural is perilously thin.